Hello guys, this is Jennifer or Jenny Pooh. What I want to do today is tell you how to read a pattern envelope. It's there's a few different types of pattern sewing pattern companies who make sewing patterns for the home or the person who doesn't know how to make their own sewing patterns, or they like to save themselves the time of making a whole pattern, maybe take the sewing pattern and alter it. And what it is it is a sewing pattern where it has different pieces inside. When you put those pieces together, you have a finished garment. You would take the pattern pieces, put them on top of fabric, pin them together, and mark them, and then sew them together based on the markings, and then you have a finished product. And you do have to know how to sew to use them. And it is good that you maybe start off small if you're just learning how to sew, and make maybe a small bag or an apron or something smaller, not something where you have to use expensive fabric and maybe waste money. But one of my two favorite sewing pattern companies are Simplicity, because if you listen to their name, they're simple. They make their sewing patterns very simple, and you don't have to go through a lot of trouble to figure out what you're doing. It's pretty simple. The patterns are simple, and not only the patterns are simple, but also the language used in telling you how to put the garments together and the instructions, they're also explained them very simply. And this is a company that Simplicity owns or creates. It's called New Look. They have very inexpensive sewing patterns. I think now they're maybe $4.99. They used to be $2.99, but they went up just like anything else. And that's some of the cheapest sewing patterns you can have, but you still have a great outlook. And you have a great finished product at the end. And my other favorite sewing pattern company is McCall's. They make things very simple also, but sometimes they have a lot of extra steps or extra. I feel like sometimes it's too much. But I love McCall's. I love Simplicity. But a little bit too many steps from McCall's, unnecessary steps sometimes. But they have some of the best clothes you can make at home. And this is what I'm making. If you saw my other sewing a lace and jersey shirt, if you saw that video, it was very long. Sorry to have such a long video, but it was my first YouTube video. I maybe went into too many details. But this is going to be a simple video just telling you how to read your sewing envelope. This is an envelope that your sewing patterns, this is a sewing pattern that it comes in. First thing you notice is your company. And that's important because if you go with the company, you kind of want to stick with it because you know what it's going to be like to use their sewing patterns. Or you just want to know what company to pick, because sometimes you may want to use something more simple like Simplicity, or if you're making a bridal dress, you might want to go with Vogue. I would say a higher end sewing pattern company, but their patterns are the most expensive. And then the second thing you notice, maybe the next thing you notice after you notice the company name, is the picture. And this gives you a great idea of what your finished garment should look like or will look like. And this, it normally has one, or sometimes it'll have different options. It show you different finish options. And here it'll show you drawings, and sometimes it's pictures, but most likely it's a drawing. Or I've noticed sometimes they have photos, but this one has the drawings, great color sketch designs, flat pattern designs, and it gives you different options. It shows you what they look like in the end, and they're usually marked with a number on the bottom of them. It'll say A, B, C, D, so you know when you're going throughout the whole process that you're making option C or option A. And when you flip up the little tab, you will also notice the pattern number. That's also important. So when you're flipping through the pattern catalog at a Hancock Fabrics, at your local fabric store, at a Joann's, which is my local fabric store, which carries sewing patterns, Joann's, they have catalogs, and you will flip through the catalogs, and by the pictures you will pick out what you want to make. And you of course want to go with something on your skill level. And this tab tells you the size, normally the size of what you're making. And this one says large. And then on the back, it has a more simple, flat CAD or computer generated sketch, and it'll show you the options again: A, B, C, D. And then on the other side of that, the bigger part of the back of the pattern envelope, it shows you your sizes. It has European sizes. I guess they sell this in European countries and other countries because it has French and Spanish. And you can see, you could go over to your size here, and it'll tell you what the measurements are. These are the standard measurements used to make the sewing patterns. And the best advice I can give you, if you're going to make a shirt or a top or a dress, you want to go with your bust measurement. And your bust measurement will tell you how large your bust is. And to get these measurements, you want to get a tape measure. And it normally comes in yellow. I've seen it white, blue, pink, red. It doesn't matter. As long as you have a tape measure, and you want to take the tape measure and measure your bust, your waist, and your hips. And your bust is this area where around the nipples, and that goes across the back. And you want to also measure your waist, and your waist is the smallest part of your midsection. And your hips normally goes over, it's the largest part of your upper body, around your bottom. And once you get those measurements, you can pick out which size you are. I'm not going to tell you which size I am, but I bought this pattern for myself, to make something for myself, so that should tell you that I'm in this area. And it's important when you pick out your patterns, you look here on the front where it tells you what the size range is. So this one is 8 to 18. And you can again figure out what size you are in the pattern world by looking at the back of your pattern. I'm going to go ahead and go into the inside. You know what? I actually can't because I'm running out of time. I'm sorry. So I'm just going to say goodbye, and that's how you read your sewing pattern. Happy sewing.